African Governance Seminar Series, it's an interactive platform. Basically, the aim of the platform is to bring together academia, practitioners, and a whole host of different stakeholders to get together and talk about governance issues, critical governance issues that are pertinent to the African continent.
As you will appreciate, the continent is moving towards its own self-definition. In order to do that, you need, among other things, critically so, you need evidence. You need to have your own research. You need to have your own understanding, your own organic understanding of your challenges.
So it is an initiative of the African Peer Review Mechanism that is an autonomous entity of the African Union. All the seminars are held around the 4 thematic areas of the APRM, which is democracy and political governance, socioeconomic governance, economic management and governance, as well as corporate governance. So the main objectives of the seminar is to sort of get rigorous discourse as well as debate on issues, governance issues in these 4 thematic areas.
Governance is about who has power, how it's controlled, who benefits from the exercise of power, and how can we hold those who have that power accountable for the choices they make.
Refugees are not participating in any policy-making process in areas that concern their lives.
The concept of participatory governance is not new to the continent. It's embedded in Agenda 2063, but very rarely do we see rural communities, particularly those living in remote areas, participating in policy planning, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation.
Poor governance is basically a consequence of inadequate use of evaluation information.
Policymakers should rather look at regulating the cannabis plant in ways that fit the context and the reality of their individual states. If we really take in the industry as it is and implement the good governance policies at these initial stages, we would be able to foster an industry that could lead to sustainable development, create economic opportunities and growth, which are all in line with achieving the aspirations and goals of Agenda 2063.
In the end, the only effective way of improving corporate governance is by improving corporate culture. There have been quite a lot of effort on the part of Africa and on the part of APRM to ensure that good governance is enshrined.
And much as we have our universities and higher places of learning, TVET also, which is a technical, entrepreneurial, vocational education and training, is a very important aspect.
There's often in financial markets incorrect information around credit rating agencies, credit rating decisions. That's due to many market participants, economists, analysts not having the proper knowledge on credit rating agencies.
Strong intellectual property rights are contingent on strong patent governing systems.
We should not understand climate change as a natural disaster, but actually as the collapse of the global ecosystem. The climate crisis is a contradiction to capitalism.
And we shouldn't be afraid from artificial intelligence. We shouldn't be afraid from digitalization. We shouldn't be afraid to work and communicate with Generation Z.
Technologies can allow us to make sure that those at grassroots are part of the decision making. And I think if we are serious about the conversation on grassroots level, then we must allow technologies to allow us to be able to make such a leverage.
We can use it to bring up Africa's deficiency. We can use these technologies to compete on the global market.
Remember, we have so many products within the African Union. We have the Africa Governance Report. We have the Africa Governance Atlas coming up. We have country review reports.
Africa Governance Report is a base study, and the report analyzes the state or the status of governance in all of the 55 African Union member states.
We don't want to just be intellectual academics. We want to go out into communities. We want to work with diverse types of people, and we want to co-create knowledge that benefits the continent.
Good governance is basically functions within an environment of accountability.
It is important that we walk the talk.
The documents are there, but the implementation framework is lacking. in terms of planning and implementation, I think we now need to see that Agenda 2063 document become much more concrete and influence our policy space and influence our implementation space so that it moves from being an abstract vision to being a lived reality.
From where I'm sitting, I'm looking at implementation that really makes a difference, that makes an impact, that brings change in who we are as Africans.
I believe through forums like we've had today, with the different discussions coming about and different views being expressed, we encourage more participation and more discussion and more contribution of ideas, which I believe have the potential to influence policymakers.
So for AGoSS in particular, the objective is really not to get the information out to the public. The objective is to get the information to the policymakers. They need to make informed choices.
You see, a government policy will actually influence attitude of the population and also will influence opinions.
So in terms of being realistic, I would say we need to see a stronger shift towards a responsibility for the future and towards an advocacy for the future. So we shift from looking to benefit only today and think about how can we benefit from the long term. And I think that's how we will realize the utopia.
We want more countries to be better governed, and few countries to be emulating those who are doing very well. We are doing better, and we should do better, and we should not give up, because governance is ultimately what everybody wants.